Pop, 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 pass the popcorn, 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 pass the popcorn.
Hello and welcome to Pass the Popcorn. I am your host for now, Brennan Klein. Sitting here across from me, across about 2,000 miles or so, is the casual moviegoer Carrie Jarasinski. Hi, Carrie.
Hello.
And we also have with us today alternate ending contributor who we need an official title for you, Mandy Albert. Okay. You have taken on the role of Razzie's correspondent, but I have taken
on the role of Razzie's correspondent. Also, I'm sorry, everybody. I am still on the tail end of recovering from laryngitis, and so I sound like Elizabeth Holmes right now. This is not usually how I sound. It's fine.
Well, this
is my new sexy laryngitis voice.
We appreciate you still coming on the show. Look, we love a sexy laryngitis voice, but take care of yourself.
That was what I figured. I have been basically pounding tea and water alternately all day in preparation for this because I didn't want to miss it. Not too often that I get to stage a hostile coup of the alternate ending podcast.
I personally think it's working for you, Mandy. So I don't want to say keep the laryngitis, but I personally am a big fan of the voice. So
I won't keep the laryngitis, but maybe I'll keep the laryngitis voice.
I think it's an option.
Cool. I will consider.
But anyway, so it's just the three of us today. We are actually kind of starting the format that we teased, that Pass the Popcorn would be more of a panel show moving forward. But with the alternate ending schedule and with the Oscars going on, things have been a little chaotic.
Please don't turn off the podcast now that you've realized I'm not Rob or Tim.
No. Okay, I mean, look. You have heard Mandy on 2 of these. You should know that you want to hear Mandy.
For sure. Real talk.
You should
real
know
talk.
If you want to hear Mandy.
Well, that's fair. Anyway, y'all definitely want to hear Carrie, and Carrie's definitely going to say some things on this podcast. I 100% money back guarantee Carrie will say words.
I'm nervous for this podcast. I'm going to be very honest with you.
I'm so excited.
Well, what we are going to do after worth mentioning is a little game of Never Have I Ever, which I think is what Carrie's nervous about. But first, let's do the thing that you do all the time, which also might be the thing you're nervous about, which is worth mentioning.
Who's going to go first? We're all like out of kilter here. Who should go first on the worth mentioning?
Why don't you go first? You're the pro.
Okay. I don't know if that's factual at all, but I will tell you about this movie that I watched literally just yesterday. And I'm so excited about it because I don't know if you guys have heard about it yet. So it is this movie called Fresh. Have you guys heard of this?
No.
Yes.
You have. I would assume that Brennan has. So this is a new horror film that is on, I believe it's on Hulu that we caught it on.
Yeah.
Go on.
Holy moly. Okay. So it is, I don't even know how to describe this. Okay. All right. I'm going to actually back myself up. Before I start describing it, I don't want to spoil anything about this movie. Something happens at about minute 25 that sort of reveals what the movie is about. Is that a spoiler to go into that?
I would say the poster gives away the spoiler. So I think you're probably good.
Okay, now I'm going to look up the poster.
Look up the poster as I'm describing it then. I'm a little nervous. So avert your ears if you don't want to know. I'm not going to go into heavy spoilers, but I'll tell you a little bit about what it's about.
I always want to hear spoilers. I'm that person who looks up the plot summary on Wikipedia before I go to the movie.
Oh, okay. So a sociopath.
Yes, exactly.
This is Rob. Rob knows every movie before we go in. So when we started watching this last night, he's like, "Oh, do you know what this is about?" I'm like, I think you know the answer to that. Like, I don't even know what was going to happen at the end of Titanic. Like, I don't Google these things ever. And so I went into this cold. This is
okay. Yes, I had seen this movie poster. It's the one with the hand.
Yeah.
What's happening? Is somebody eating the hand in the poster?
Oh, it's like a hand. It's like a hand in like a supermarket chicken package.
That feels like what the movie is about. Okay, so that is all right. I feel safe. I'm in a safe place now. Okay, so the guy, his name is Sebastian Stan. You know him as Bucky from the Marvel movies. Okay, so he's in here. I did not recognize him at all. He's very I don't know if he's lost weight. I don't know if his hair color is different. I did not know who he was. I kept telling Rob, I'm like, this guy's familiar. I think I've seen him in something before. Rob's
We
like,
did record 6 episodes of a podcast about his television show.
unrecognizable to me. So he's in this movie. He plays the dude that's in this movie. This could happen to any of us. Goes on a couple dates. The girl is like really into him. I mean, I'm into him from this, like the way that he's kind of putting his vibe out there and whatever in this movie. And he sort of comes on to this Daisy Edgar Jones. It's this gal. I've never seen her before, but she's actually pretty good. It's every person's dream. You're just cruising along in the supermarket and somebody comes up to you and they're like, hey, I like the kale you have there. It's kind of like the pickup line. Who doesn't want that? I mean, honestly. So this happens. He comes on to her, but he is like so romantic, so sweet. Rob's like, do you think you know where this is going? I was like, is this like what's that movie about the S&M stuff or the
50 Shades of Grey?
Yes.
I was gonna say cruising.
50 Shades of Grey. I thought it was going to go 50 Shades of Grey. I was like, ooh, this seems a little like this could take a good direction. So then I was like, I don't think that's where it's going. So then it continues to progress. You find out that after a couple dates, she's so into him. She's like, yeah, I'll go off with you on just like a little snappy vacation off to the coast. They hop on this vacation. Her friend is suspicious. She's like, do you know where you're going? Do you know who this is? She's like, I know this guy. I mean, we've been to fourth base together already by the second date, which is suspicious. But anyway,
that's called home.
Also there. They've also been there together very quickly.
Okay.
They went to Home Base, the old home goods store.
Yeah, right. Picked up some deals. Then they go there and it turns into straight horror. So this guy ends up turning out, he's got this business where he decides he captures people for sale. But like not even selling them. It's more lucrative to sell pieces of them, which again, it feels like a spoiler, but Mandy said it's on the cover. So I'm going to go and I'm going to leave it there. It turns into this like love story, horror, edible gore vibe.
Edible gore.
And it was working for me. I really, really, really liked this. It's probably garbage, but I loved it. I was really into it. So
this sounds like fun.
It's fun. Yeah.
And I've heard very good things about it from a lot of people. It's on my list. It's just not made it into my eyeballs yet.
I think you'll like it. It's taking a twist on things that it was unexpected. It's tense. It's, I don't know. And again, the tension's coming from lots of different things because then she's trying to figure out how to play him too. There's a lot going on in here. So this is called Fresh. Again, I think it's on Hulu. I highly recommend checking it out.
Sounds right, because I feel like I have seen the poster when I've been watching The Dropout.
Oh yeah, the Elizabeth Holmes Full Circle. Yeah, it is.
Speaking of Elizabeth Holmes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Fresh is on Hulu.
All right. So highly recommend.
This is how I can tell I've been listening to too much Bride of Alternate Ending, is that when Carrie said it turns into straight horror, my immediate thought was, oh, so it had been gay horror before that.
Look, I am so glad to have put that switch in your brain, and I would classify
I'm glad you
Fresh.
Put it there too.
You're welcome. I would classify Fresh as straight horror because it's about dating a man who turns out to, be helping cannibals. So that's pretty heterosexual.
That's happened to all of us heterosexual ladies at some time or another. You go home with a guy and he turns out that he eats people.
I've seen my sister's Tinder. It's a mess out there.
I've never been on Tinder, but I imagine we'll get there in the Never Have I Ever section of this episode. So that's my worth mentioning. Mandy, what have you been watching?
So what have I been watching? So I am bringing to the table a little movie on Netflix called Apollo 10.5.
The new Richard Linklater movie.
Exactly. So I am trying to figure out what exactly Netflix's deal is. And actually, I'm pretty sure I know what Netflix's deal is. But I'm trying to figure out why Netflix has relentlessly advertised to me basically Brennan movies, a bunch of crappy rom-coms and Tall Girl 2. And yet I had to find out about Apollo 10.5 from one of the other movie podcasts that I cheat on Alternate Ending with.
Yeah, don't give them the free publicity. We'll keep it anonymous.
I will not. I will keep it anonymous. But
just
I will
higher quality and watching better movies. So
I will thank them for letting me know that this movie existed. So Apollo 10 and a half, as we mentioned, is directed by Richard Linklater, also known for things like Boyhood, which is for many reasons the most obvious comparison of the rest of his work to Apollo 10 and a half. It is a rotoscoped movie, so it is animation but over live action. And Apollo 10 and a half is about a boy growing up in the late 60s in Houston. And as we all know, what was going on in Houston in the late 60s. And his dad works for NASA, but not in like a cool capacity. His dad's like a pencil pusher for NASA, basically. So he's kind of growing up in the shadow of the Apollo space program. And so like he's very aware of everything that's going on, but it's also kind of happening very much on the outside. And so it's kind of this like slice of life movie of 1968 and 1969 that is intertwined with a fantasy this kid has about like being picked as the kid who has to go on the top secret Apollo 10 and a half mission because NASA built their lunar capsule too small for an adult. So they have to find a kid to send to the moon first before they send Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin to the moon. So there's that going on. And that's, I guess, like the story, but the bulk of the movie is actually just like this kid's day-to-day life growing up in 1968 and 1969. It is narrated by Jack Black, who is playing this kid, Stan, as an adult. And the kid is played by Milo Coy, whom I'm assuming is a child actor that I'd never heard of before. His parents are Lee Eddy and Bill Wise. And then there were a bunch of other actors who did a fine job that I'd also never heard of before. I really dug this movie. And I'm trying to figure out why I really dug this movie, because as Brennan may have been able to guess from seeing my dig at Boyhood in my Letterboxd review of Apollo 10 and a half, I don't normally like movies where nothing really happens. Like, I was not a Boyhood fan. I was not a particular Tree of Life fan. Mm-hmm. I recognize the level of craft that goes into those, but I didn't enjoy the experience of watching them. And this felt very much like Boyhood light or Tree of Life light, kind of like a more accessible version of those things. And a thing that I've noticed about myself as a movie viewer is that when I like a movie of a sort that I don't usually like, I tend to just love that movie. So like for another example, I don't tend to like really long movies. I don't like biopics, and I don't like period pieces. Mm-hmm. And Amadeus is one of my favorite movies of all time. So yeah, go ahead, Brennan.
No, I was saying, I mean, that makes total sense of like something that can slingshot past all of those roadblocks must be, really extra good. But I have a question. So
yes,
as far as like, have you seen like much of Linklater? Because it sounds a lot like a lot of his style. Like, it's like, oh, what, a period piece mm-hmm. that doesn't really have a narrative? It's like, have you seen like Dazed and Confused? Everybody Wants Some. Like, what's your mileage on that type of movie?
I have not. I've seen School of Rock and I've seen A Scanner Darkly, and that's and I've seen Boyhood, and that's kind of my Linklater.
Okay, so yeah, those aren't gonna do the Linklater thing to you. Okay, so mm-hmm. you're probably not gonna like Everybody Wants Some. Okay,
I will
good
keep
to know.
That in mind.
No, I was just curious.
Okay, yeah. So but yeah, this is just, I think you would really like this one, Carrie, because it's such a sweet movie. Like, it's very nostalgic. It's very shamelessly nostalgic. It understands that it's a nostalgia piece, and it is not ashamed of the fact that it is blatantly a nostalgia piece, because it's a whole lot of like, wasn't it great being a kid in the 1960s when you could just run around until the streetlights came on?
The fireflies are out.
And the fireflies are out, and you could go to the amusement park without your parents, and everybody smoked all the time, and also occasionally an adult would give you a big whack on the ass with a paddle. Wasn't everything just so great? And yet at the same time, like, there's a lot of things that it presents of like, these things maybe weren't so great about growing up in the 1960s, but we're just going to have these there, and you can sort of evaluate for yourself, because this is the whole picture right there. And then the fantasy aspect of it, where the kid is going to the moon, I thought was a really, really good portrayal of like the feeling of awareness that something really big is going on around you and the desire to be part of it, even though you don't totally understand the thing that is going on around you. And it was a thing that in this day and age, I think a lot of us can sympathize with, but it was also just like a very happy portrayal of that kind of feeling. Like it was such a good, wholesome portrayal of like the importance of childhood fantasy. I think the importance of, I don't want to say letting kids be kids, because that's an oversimplification of what's going on here.
Yeah.
But of just like the joy of being a child who lives with a child's imagination.
I think it sounds so good. And I actually really love that genre in general, like the simplicity of it, exactly like you're saying, of just like the ease of times, even if they weren't, like, sure, hard things were going on then too, but it didn't feel like it. It didn't feel like the news was so in your face. When you say that it's animation mixed with live action, are we talking like Who Framed Roger Rabbit here? Like how do they blend the two?
So it's rotoscoped. It's
what does that mean? I didn't know that word when you said it.
This is where I should really be like, Tim, come in from out of the blue and explain what rotoscoping is, because I'm going to do it in a really embarrassing way. But it's basically, it's live action and then it is animated it's like an animation sheet pasted over the live action. So the whole thing has that animated look, but it's like, it's almost like you're watching a live action movie, but everybody has been drawn, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like if you put the posterized filter over a picture or something to make it look like a cartoon, you're just doing that to like every frame of a movie.
Okay, so you're not actually seeing real characters playing throughout the entire movie. Okay. Well, I'm interested in this. Can you say the title one more time? It's Apollo 10 and a half.
It's called Apollo 10 and a half.
I'm kind of excited about this. I was just talking to you guys. This isn't a stage that you're at yet, but now that Abby is 10, I'm starting to get like messages from all the mom's friends and whatever, being like, what are you signing all your kids up for this summer? What are all their activities? And I was like, we're actually just going to be riding bikes and to the gas station to get candy.
We're going to be going to IKEA every day.
IKEA. We're going to go to IKEA all the time, and we're going to go for walks and hikes and whatever. And they're like, oh, that seems like the 90s. And I was like, yes, that's exactly what it is. I'm like, simpler times. We're just going to ride the bikes for candy everywhere we go. Yes. And to IKEA and for cheap furniture.
I think I don't have 10-year-olds, but I think this would be a good movie for that age group too. It is rated PG-13. That is because there are a couple of swear words and an ungodly amount of smoking. That's pretty much the only reason for the rating.
You know what? We've passed that. So now and then.
It's not a raunchy movie like Now and Then.
It is a little bit raunchy. Now and then I was like, holy smokes. And the funny part was like the kids, like the A word was like over their head, or like they dropped a couple, like the B bomb here left and right. But then like, it was funny, like when there was some smoking, they were like, oh, when was this movie made? And why did you say this movie was good? These kids are smoking. And I was
They're going to be stunned then, because there is a scene where the principal's secretary is smoking in the middle of the school.
Oh boy. Alice does not approve of that at all. But
well, this might be a traumatic experience then.
I think I'm going to try it. That sounds really, really, really good. So I'm excited. Yeah. And you said it's on Netflix, right?
It is on Netflix, and I recommend it to everybody. Apollo 10 and a half.
All right, Brennan, what about you?
Okay, so 2 days ago when I was preparing for this episode, I was looking through what I'd watched since the beginning of April, and I was like, it's all a bunch of bullshit. Like, I watched The Bubble, I watched The Adam Project, lots of Netflix horribleness. And then I watched 6 slasher movies from the early 80s, and I'm like, y'all can read my blog for that. But so I was still kind of floundering. But yesterday I went to the theaters and I saw Everything Everywhere All at Once. Do you have something to say, Mandy?
No.
Okay,
I'm just interested.
You just very visibly perked up and I was like, hello. But yeah, so it's the new film by Daniels, which is the name that is taken on by Daniel. Oh, fuck, I didn't write down the name. Daniel Kwan and Daniel Shine or something. I'm a little fuzzy on his last name. But it's a pair of directors. They previously directed a billion music videos and also Swiss Army Man with Daniel Radcliffe, which is a movie that I hold in my heart very dearly. Like it's a little bit of a straight boy movie, but it's such a dazzling cinematic experience made out of these like little pieces of pop culture that I really enjoyed. And Everything Everywhere All at Once is basically like, what if that, but about a middle-aged Chinese immigrant played by Michelle Yeoh, and plus The Matrix, plus cartoon logic, plus just like it is the most accurate title ever put to a film. It is a very overwhelming, kind of mind-boggling, like Phil Lord and Chris Miller wish they could make a movie as chaotic as this one. It's I don't even necessarily want to bother going through the plot too much, except to say that it involves like basically the multiverse. Michelle Yeoh, through a variety of sci-fi machinations, figures out how to tap into her other alternative pathways in the multiverse of other people who made different choices than her, who are her, and the skills that they have in order to accomplish a goal. It is probably, if you are in the film community at all, this is a movie that you've probably heard about from a lot of your friends. And I don't want to participate in the overhyping of this movie.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome. I really, really enjoyed it. I had a really nice time. I thought it was very wacky and silly and fun. I think going into it with people telling you it's the best movie they've ever seen, obviously that's not correct, and that's not going to be the way that this movie hits you. And if it does, that's incredible and that's great, and I hope it does. But I think personally the film of Daniel's that hits me the most is Swiss Army Man, because there is a thing that movie does that Everything Everywhere All at Once doesn't, which is a very specific thing about the score and how the characters interact with the score that was like a mind-blowingly cinematic thing for me. But this movie is doing a lot of stuff that it's basically it's a puzzle, but not in the sense of like the stuff that Rob likes, like a Christopher Nolan movie that you have to figure out. The puzzle is you are watching Daniel's speed run a puzzle and you're like, how the fuck are they going to put all these pieces together by the end of the film? Like at the end of 2 hours and 20 minutes. And just the fact that they do is this kind of staggering feat of cinema that is really exciting and really energetic and really interesting. Ki Kwan is in it as Michelle Yeoh's husband. He is a former child actor. Carrie, you would know him. He played Short Round in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Oh, he's still doing stuff? Oh, that makes me so happy.
He quit acting for about 25 years.
Oh, and he's back?
He's back.
Oh,
he's been in something else
so much.
Me too. So he was in something, and now I'm blanking on what it is, but I kid you not, like within the last year, we were watching something and I was like, Rob, that's Short Round. And he was like, Carrie, check yourself. Like he totally thought I was wrong. I'm like, I can spot Short Round from a mile away. And it was one of those, like, I don't get them often, but feathers in my cap. I was just like, that is Short Round. I can't, it's blanking.
Was it a movie called Finding Ohana?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, that's the only other thing he's done since 2002.
Okay. Well,
also, can we get that line on some alternate ending merch, please? I can spot Short Round from a mile away.
Yes,
please.
It's a skill. I mean, I have it. I can do this thing, but I didn't know. Yeah. So is this like, is his start up again? Like, is he planning on doing stuff beyond this?
Apparently he basically, well, like a lot of child actors, he stepped away from the industry after becoming a not child. But also there were so few roles for Asian people in Hollywood, especially in the early 2000s, that he just kind of soured on the industry. But apparently seeing Crazy Rich Asians inspired him to actually go back and try his hand at acting one more time, and he is fucking incredible. Like obviously
that's lovely.
Yeah, like you expect great things from Michelle Yeoh and she delivers them, but he is right there with her, like doing this really exciting thing, playing multiple different characters. their daughter is played by Stephanie Sue, who's also quite good. She's not someone I'm familiar with. And Jamie Lee Curtis is in the movie as well. And we know Jamie Lee Curtis she's an icon. She's the moment. I don't know that.
Does she have a small dog?
No, she doesn't.
It's an Oscar.
Yes, yeah. Sorry,
No.
I was like, there's a small dog in the movie though. Basically.
Sorry, I'm still creeped out by that.
Same.
This is a whole thing. Anyway, so this movie it takes that kind of pop culture panopticon that Daniels know how to do really well, and it does this very fun, very cinematic thing with it. It's goofy and inventive and delightful. And personally, I really, really enjoyed the experience of watching this movie, but I don't know if I ever want to watch it again. Because it's very much a movie about the joy of the discovery of what this movie is. In the same way that The Matrix is kind of, it drops off on a rewatch because The Matrix is all about explaining the Matrix. So I think it's this really potent and powerful thing that you get one shot at, and I think it's going to nail it, like whenever you get to it. And people have rewatched it and they love it. It's just for me, I don't know if I would find that same joy again, but some movies aren't built for that, and that's not a demerit.
I have to ask you, Brennan. Oh, you go ahead.
No,
Mandy.
go ahead.
No, you go.
Are we at like one of those 4-way stops in the Midwest where everybody's like, no, you go. Did you find it to be a tiring movie to watch?
No, but I have a pretty high bar for that kind of, I would say, okay, because I obviously made the Phil Lord, Chris Miller comparison. I think this movie is less like internet bite-sized humor than their movies are. But it is similarly kind of like packed to the gills with stuff to process. But growing up on that kind of material, I have a facility with it. I think if you're overwhelmed by something like the Lego movie or Mitchell's versus the Machines, I think this will be a tick down in exhaustion, probably. But it will it is designed to make your brain explode, but I don't think you will feel kind of spent physically like some of those other movies do.
Okay.
And I have a really classy question to ask you too. So going back to Swiss Army Man.
Yes.
If you had to say right now, without thinking about it, what is the one scene that jumps out to you from that movie?
I mean, obviously there's all the boner and fart stuff, but and I think that's very funny. But I think there's this small part. I mean, I really love that movie. And I love that kind of handmade set that he makes out of it, the stuff that he finds on the coast.
Yeah.
And really the thing that stands out to me is the music, but maybe specifically the part where it brings in the Jurassic Park motif that references an earlier conversation.
Oh, okay.
I believe that scene takes place in the bus that's kind of rotted out.
Yeah, I thought we were going to match up. For me, it was the toots. And I love when he sets sail with his own gas. And I'll never forget that. There's a lot of movies that I've forgotten, but that movie will always stick with me at that moment in time. So that's a good movie. I was so surprised. Yeah, shocked. So, well, good. Oh, gosh. Do you know what it's about?
No, I actually know nothing about it. I know that it exists.
I have to tell you for like 2 seconds what it's about, Brennan, and then we'll throw it back to you. I know you're going to try and keep us on track. I don't even remember what it's about. So I told you the tubes.
Should I tell Mandy what it's about?
I think you should.
I'm dying to hear it.
The 5-second thing for me, and then Brennan will tell it accurately, is basically Daniel, not Day-Lewis, Daniel Radcliffe. Daniel Radcliffe, Harry Potter. Wait, is that Harry Potter?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Harry Potter basically dies and then on an island, and then they have to use him as a Swiss Army knife, his body, in order to try and get off the island. Did I say that right?
Okay, so Paul Dano is this lost soul character who is
Paul
at the end of his rope. Yes.
I'm sold.
Yes. Basically, yeah, he's basically this completely lost, crumbled man-child who just he's at the end of his rope. He discovers this corpse that washes up on a deserted island where he is. The corpse is Daniel Radcliffe. The corpse has lots of farts that allow him to be used as a boat to propel across the water. corpse has a boner
So
that can be
good.
used to like chop wood.
I forgot about the boner though, to be really honest.
Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh.
So it is literally he's using this corpse as a Swiss Army knife, but also it's a talking corpse. So they have these conversations about life and philosophy and pop culture and love, and they kind of build this
They bond.
really bizarre friendship. And it's I love
Wait,
it.
he's a corpse, but he talks. So is he a zombie? Or is he talking in Paul
like
Dano's
Wilson.
imagination?
It's like Wilson in Castaway a little bit, maybe.
I think
So
that
Paul Dano's losing his mind, and that's how the corpse is talking.
Yeah, I think that the
Okay.
absolute there's not really another way to read the movie other than Paul Dano is constructing a very intricate fantasy life.
Okay. Okay.
Just being completely alone in the world for reasons that are probably his own fault.
Are probably clear once you watch it.
Okay.
You have to watch this, Mandy. I think you're really, really, really gonna like it. And then
Yeah, no, this sounds like
back.
fun.
Yeah.
Both of these sound like fun. Also, Paul Dano is to me as Devon Sawa is to Carrie. So
Oh, I didn't
that is
know.
what's going on here.
Interesting. I see the appeal. I definitely see the appeal. Yeah, he has a vibe for sure that I can see getting behind as well. What about you, Brennan, on Paul Dano? Not so much.
He's he's kind of my boyfriend Ben's type in a way, because I like to make fun of him because a lot of his movie crushes look like Dickensian orphans, like they look ill, and that's not really my vibe.
See, wait, did Paul Dano look ill?
Yeah,
he does.
Well, he's just pale and
does.
skinny. He's just pale and skinny and
He's just
kind of
like he's a sweet, quiet, nerdy little thing.
Yeah, no, and I get
like
that.
Cheeks, like some robust cheeks. I don't know. And again, no judgment. He doesn't have to be your thing. But Mandy, check it out. Report back to see if Paul Dano as a hysterical man is working for you. Need to know.
Definitely will. I am sold. And also hearing that Short Round is in Everything Everywhere All at Once has sold me on seeing it more than anything else, to be honest.
Good. I'm glad. And it should, because he's terrific.
We're all sold.
Great. But yeah, so that's going to do it for Worth Mentioning. We're going to go to our commercial break, or whatever it is that Rob says to transition. Remember, you can find more details about all the movies we've watched at our website, alternateending.com. On this Google Doc, it says ... alternateending.com. Does he say it twice?
He does, yes.
Does he?
Yeah.
I blank out at that point. That's where I'm like, what am I going to say?
The second one is always like a little bit slower, like radio host repeating the 1-800 number kind of style.
Interesting.
Got it.
Interesting.
I need the practice. Anyway, thank you. Before we head to our break, you might be wondering about ways to support the show. You can support us on Patreon, get early access and exclusive content, make us watch a movie, pick your own episode topic, and more from our Patreon site. We have a lot of people celebrating anniversaries this week. Look at this shit. We got Dan Prestwich, we got Jason Dola, we got Marion Kensler, Philip Visa. Ooh, that's if it's a German last name, I pronounced it correctly. MC Stefan, who upgraded in August 2020, Nathan Tabik, who upgraded in October 2021, Stevie T also upgraded in October. Chris and Laura Trengove. Chris is a contributor at the website. You can find a lot of his reviews on alternateending.com. And Carter Smith. Everybody's here today.
Happy anniversary. It's
Happy
a big one. What month are we in right now? Is this April? Yeah.
We're in April. You know, it's
big month.
A lot of babies are born. A lot of patrons are born.
Agreed.
Anyway, you can also support us on Amazon. We want to thank all the listeners who support the show and make their Amazon purchases through our site. Doing it is easy. Just go to our website, alternateending.com. Say it at once this time. Click on our Amazon banner and seamlessly go about your purchases. All proceeds go to making our show better. Since our last episode, here are the things that were purchased. Okay, so
here we go. Good luck.
Okay, so this full disclosure, this recording's just a couple days after your last recording, so we just got a couple things.
That's fine.
In home improvement, we got a high craft kitchen sink basket strainer replacement for standard drains.
You need that. That gets all your gook. You don't want any of that, I've learned from experience, in your actual drain, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And then in kitchen and dining, we got a Brita standard everyday water filter pitcher.
Good.
Also need that.
Yeah, and in video, we do have a DVD box set of Beverly Hills 90210 season 6, which was in fact bought by me. Thank you for
I
asking.
was gonna say, I was like, weren't you just watching those? Thank you for your purchase. And why in particular were you purchasing that box set?
Well, there's another movie podcast I listen to that has
Uh-oh.
that
Maybe
has a
you're cheating
sideshow.
too.
I know I am. But there's this sideshow that they're doing where they're going through 90210 and Melrose Place. And I listened to the podcast for like a year and I was like, I'm just gonna watch these shows because I'm invested now.
I get that. I totally get that.
And also going back to the 90s is a very nice way to escape the not 90s.
Yeah, I agree. There's something just like really comforting about watching those movies. You're like, just take me back. Take me back.
And the thing about 90s media is that when it's problematic, you get to go, oh, you, rather than today media that's problematic when you're like, have you not figured it out yet?
Right.
At least
You're
in the
like,
90s,
oh, it was
you're
the
like,
90s. You were allowed
Yeah.
to say that in the 90s.
and you know, it's like it's still bad, but you can be like, maybe they would have learned in the intervening 30 years, and you can pretend that they would have.
Yes. Fair. Very fair.
So what we're doing for the second half, the realist half, things are going to stop getting polite and start getting real as we play a game of, well, I was thinking it was a movie themed game of Never Have I Ever, but I don't know
No.
if Carrie was thinking that. So
No, it is. Mine is all movie themed for sure. Because I did go in and Google best. This is how lame I am. This is why I'm so lame. I need to like reevaluate my whole life. I literally was Googling best never ever questions because I don't think I've done anything cool. And then I was like trying to remember that it's not things that I've done, but I'm even so uncool that I couldn't even think of cool things that people could have done
like
in
outside
a theater
the scope of
outside of my world. So I was just like, gosh, has anyone littered? Like, I don't even know. I couldn't think of anything. So I was Googling and then I was trying to apply those never have I ever lists to movies. And what I have before you it's a bit of a train wreck. I just want to like warn you in advance.
Okay.
That's okay. This is going to sound like the world's dumbest humble brag, but everything that I was thinking of was like, but wait, I've done that. So I can't use that as a never have I ever. And I'm not talking about like exciting things. I'm just talking about things that I thought of that I was like, haha, wouldn't that be fun? Oh, wait, I'm thinking of that because that's a dumb thing that I did.
That I've done. I know. I was trying to get a little bit sexy. And so I was like, oh, what have I done in the theater? And I was like, oh, you remember that time when I was 18 and I reached over, I held this one guy's hand. He did not want me to be holding his hand at all. So it like went on for like at least like 30 seconds. And then like it got a little sweaty and I pulled away. That is like, that's it. That's my theater.
That's funny and charming though. So I encourage more stories like that.
I don't know.
Well,
I just feel like I don't have anything to give here, but I'm going to try.
Ultimately, I think provoking those stories is the reason we're playing this game.
Okay.
But theoretically, I know this is a podcast, but we're gonna have like 5 fingers up. You put down the finger if the thing listed is something that you have done, and we will just say, "I'm putting down a finger." You know, it will.
Okay.
It's gonna be fine.
So do we have to have 5, 3? What's the actual number here?
What do you mean? Number of fingers?
Oh, how many questions do we all get?
Let's go around the horn and do it until we get bored.
Okay, let's
I might
put a
have to
timer.
spontaneously think of more questions.
Let's put a
how many
timer
do you
on
have?
ourselves.
How many do you have, Mandy?
I have like 3.5 right now. I have 4, but I hate one of them.
Okay.
But sometimes I have spontaneous flashes of brilliance.
Mhm.
And if I don't, then it'll be funny. So
Sure. Let's
that'll
do
be great.
Let's do 3 apiece, and if it feels worth going into more, we'll do more.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Okay, well, I really want to start with Carrie. I want to know what kind of heat you're bringing to this game.
It's like there's nothing to me. So I literally, I'm going to tell you this right now. I was having a crisis like in my life in the last 6 months where I was like, you were so lame. And I was like, I just wear sweaters all the time. And I wear like,
It's cold.
It's cold, but I wear like the mom jeans that they're telling you not to wear anymore. I part my
Who's
hair on the
they? Who's
side.
telling you not to wear them?
People, like, I think the
What's
internet.
wrong with parting your hair on the side?
I don't know, Mandy. I think we're supposed to be parting it down the middle now. I've read.
I don't
these
think
things.
so.
No,
That's who? The children? I assure
don't
you, as
know.
someone who spends all day with children, don't listen to what the children say.
Don't listen. Okay, well, I'll tell you how lame it gets. My first question, this is not the question, was I've never left garbage in a theater like an animal. I can't use that question, but I have never left garbage in a theater. But then wait, I've done that, or I've never done that. So I couldn't even use that anyway. I've never left garbage in a theater. I always throw my garbage away. But that's an example.
But wait, doesn't that mean you can use it? Like, aren't these
Yeah.
supposed to be things you've never done?
Yeah, so if you've never left garbage in a theater, you can say that. And
That's
I would not
true.
put a finger down because I used to be an usher and that shit is the worst.
Neither would I, because I'm not an animal.
This is well, that was supposed to be my example, but maybe I should use that one now.
Yeah,
because
see, this is the part where you find out all the things that Brennan and I have done and give
Yeah.
you ideas for what you can do later on.
okay.
Exactly.
All right. Then I'm gonna start off with that. You know what? Number one, never have I ever left garbage in a theater, ... like an animal.
Again, not putting my finger down because I'm not a psychopath.
Yeah, me as well. So let's go to Mandy's first one.
All right, cool. Never have I ever snuck into a movie that I didn't pay for.
Oh, I haven't either because I'm
I
too much of
haven't
I'm too
either.
scared.
Neither. And that was my second question.
Really?
So I had a variation on this that I can't use, which was never have I ever bought a ticket for one movie and then gone to another, but I have done that, so I couldn't use that.
Oh my gosh. Let's see. So none of us have snuck into a theater, which I thought for sure you guys would have done. I even am so much of a loser that one time one of my friend's parents wanted me to sneak into a movie and I said no. And I called my mom. Oh, get me. These same people, let me tell you right now, these same people used to bring I hope they're not listening actually. Used to bring like a plastic sack and pre-pop their popcorn and then bring their popcorn in and then like hide the popcorn and bring it in. And then they wanted me to eat the stolen popcorn. And
it's not stolen. It's just contraband.
Smuggled contraband popcorn. And I remember being like, I cannot eat the contraband popcorn. I mean, I probably did. I liked a good snack back then, but I refused to go into another movie, I think, without paying. So maybe we're just better people than we thought.
Wow, Carrie, you non-thief.
Mhm.
Oh.
I will say I have considered doing the ticket swapping thing to go see the new Fantastic Beasts movie and without giving money to J.K. Rowling. But I just decided not to see that movie because it looks really bad. Even though that's why I wanted to watch it in the first place, but I just couldn't.
Yeah, I know. One of Abby's mom's friends just wrote me and was like, "Can I take the kids?" And I've been ghosting. I haven't responded yet. So it's good to know that it's also bad. Gosh, we're gonna have to amp it up, Brennan. You're gonna have to come up with something that one of us has done.
Well, I was starting with like kind of a like more conversation provoking one and like a tamer one. So
Yeah.
I will say never have I ever seen a movie more than 5 times in the theater.
Yep, I gotta put a finger down for that one.
Hell yeah. What movie?
I have seen The Room 6 times in a theater.
Okay.
Why
I have gone to 6 different special showings of The Room.
Okay.
Wow.
And you know what? That actually, I did not even consider Rocky Horror, which probably breaks my own rule.
I feel like Rocky Horror is a little bit different, but in that case, The Room would be a little bit different too.
Have you ever seen a first run movie more than 5 times in the theater?
I have not.
How about you, Carrie?
No, I don't even know right now if I could tell you a movie. So you know what? I don't think I've ever seen a movie twice in the theater.
Oh, okay.
Ever. On the flip side of that coin, I can't think of another movie, that I've ever seen again. Like I've seen a movie twice, like from home or like if it comes to streaming or whatever. But I think once I've actually paid for it, maybe I'm just too cheap to see it again. Maybe, I don't know. I don't think I've ever done a second viewing twice in a theater.
Okay. I was totally thinking you would have seen Titanic like 7 times, or something like that, because that was the vibe in 97.
It
I
was, but
saw the Phantom of the Opera, like the really bad one from 2004 or 2005, on 2 different dates with 2 different people.
How did they go? You're married, right? To one of them.
I am. I am not married to one of the people that I went on a date to that movie with.
I think that's
both
maybe the good one. I think I liked that one, maybe.
Both
2004?
of them told me not too long after our dates that they were gay.
Oh.
Well, they took you to see Phantom of the Opera. Maybe.
Yeah, it should have been a sign. It really should have.
If it's too good to be true, Mandy, it is. It definitely is.
But yeah,
amazing.
My relationship to rewatching is that it usually takes me a couple of years before I can rewatch a movie. I kind of need to scrub my memory a little bit. But generally, my favorite movie of the year, I will have seen more than once during that year. And I've seen 2 movies 5 times in the theaters. One of them was You're Next, which is just such a blast of a movie. And the other one was Mad Max Fury Road, which is purest cinema.
Fair. The first one I've never heard of. Is that one worth seeing?
It's like a horror comedy. I don't know if it's quite your wavelength, but yes, I love that movie.
5 times. That's a lot. Gosh, I need to get into this more. So you're saying that you guys go back to like the cheap, like sometimes they pick them up in like theaters like years after they've been released or whatever, and then you go back and see it multiple times? Or are you saying right when it came out, you were like, I love this so much, I'm just going to go back and see it so many times?
Yeah, those ones I was talking about were first run. Although You're Next, like 3 of those screenings were once it got to the dollar theater, like a couple months into its run.
Okay.
I'm not, just throwing money around. Yeah, Carrie, what's your second one?
Oh, geez. Well, so let's see. Mandy got on my like steamy one about hopping into the theater without
that was your steamy one?
I mean, that was my risque one that I was getting into there. Here's where
Carrie,
I'm gonna
what
get
do
a
you
little
think risque means?
It's not
it's risky,
good.
but it's like
risky.
it's a spicy risk.
Spicy risk. That's right. Again, I need to be really cool. I am planning on starting to like go out and like maybe get a tattoo or piercings to try and amp up my cool immediately following this episode. I'm gonna think of something, maybe a nose piercing. I don't know.
Reaching the stage where you need to try as hard as you can to embarrass your children, because one of them's going to be in middle school soon. So now is the time. Yeah, that's how I'm feeling, like a cuff or something like that on my ear. It's going to happen immediately following this episode. So here's what I have, and this is something I can say 100% truthfully. Never have I ever lied about liking a movie to impress Tim. To impress Tim specifically?
To impress, well, I mean, I was actually targeting there, but never have I ever lied to a person about liking a movie to impress them.
That would be a finger down for me.
Yeah, I've definitely done that.
That was the one where I was like, you guys for sure have done this. They have to. And I want to know who and what was so important to lie about.
For me, it's mainly when I'm first meeting someone and don't have a sense of their taste yet. And if they're like, I love this movie, I don't want to tank the conversation. I'm like, yeah, me too. Let's keep talking. I will not lie about my favorite movies. Like if somebody asks that, I won't go like, oh, Citizen Kane, Casablanca, like, and try to impress them.
Right.
But I have lied about liking movies or having seen movies to keep a conversation going with someone I want to keep talking to.
Anybody?
That to me is social grace.
It's social grace. Oh my gosh. I immediately throw myself out of the bus. I'm like, no, I've never seen that. They're like, really? It's odd. That's like the most famous movie of all time. So
oh yeah.
Brennan, in your case though, is this new people, or would you do this to friends or people that are familiar to you too in an effort to impress?
Oh no, I don't need to impress my friends. They know I'm great.
Oh, okay. Mandy, same to you. Who who have you lied to, and for what movie have you lied to people for about
I
seeing?
have lied to multiple people for multiple reasons. And I feel like some of these are the same as Brennan's, where it was just like I was talking to somebody and they brought up a movie and I wanted to keep the conversation going. So it was like, oh yeah, that movie's great. Let's talk about it some more. And in some cases it was a movie I'd never even seen. But it turns out that you can very easily make conversation about Marvel movies without having seen them. Because they're
That's
just
true.
such cultural osmosis at this point that that it's kind of, if you can talk about one, you can talk about all of them at
Mhm.
this point. But so I feel like, Brennan, I feel like you probably know what the International Thespian Society is.
I mean, I can guess from context clues. I've never been involved with it or heard of it
Okay.
as an organization in my
So
life.
it's the high school theater kid organization, and I am the troop sponsor for the International Thespian Society at my esteemed place of employment. And I have, and now I hope none of them are listening to this. If you are, go away, kids. This isn't appropriate for you. But I have lied to them about liking movies.
Oh,
Like what?
Because-
What would you lie about? Like what movie?
I excuse me, it's the laryngitis coming back now. So a couple of years ago, I lied to them about liking Cabaret when I had not, in fact, seen Cabaret yet. Because
okay.
I thought I was going to sound so uncool if I revealed to these high school students that I, their theater teacher, had not seen Cabaret.
Okay. See, I was worried you were going to say you lied about liking Cabaret because you hated Cabaret, and that would have been very
No, then
upsetting
I
to
saw
me.
it and it was good. So.
Okay, great. See that we're cool. We're cool.
Okay,
See,
that's good. I
I
also
was-
lied to them about liking Rent, which I actually hate because I didn't want to break their hearts.
That
I've
makes
not
more
seen
sense.
Rent, and I would be honest about that. I've not seen it. Everyone thinks that that's appalling too. That I need to go out and see Rent.
No,
but
that's not appalling. You don't need to see Rent.
okay. Good. To
Rent
know.
is purely for high school people. And I was one of those, and I loved Rent at the time, and I've moved on a little bit. But yeah, no, I don't want to like discredit myself as a theater person. I was like deeply involved in the theater program at my high school, but we never had that society as part of
That's
our
fine.
school.
It's like an
Yeah.
honor society. You have it or you don't.
Oh, yeah, I've never heard of it. Okay, Mandy, what's your second never have I ever?
So I'm gonna keep going on like the morality track. Never have I
Oh.
ever pirated a movie.
Oh no,
Oh,
I
Oh,
have.
come on.
I know I
Oh.
have. I have pirated a movie and then it didn't go well. I think I put a virus on the computer. It
Serves you
was like-
right.
I know it wasn't intentional, but it was one of those things. Okay. It's not going to be a shock to anybody that I handle zero of the technology in our house. Every piece of technology in our house is locked down by Rob with like passwords. I don't know how to get into anything. Everything in our house is like somehow commandeered by him. I don't know if he dies, it's over. Like I can't access anything.
Fridge
So
locked.
Locked. Like I won't ever be able to eat or drink ever again in this house. It's like, again, it's out of probably a movie that should be made about our lives. But sometimes I have these like flares where I'm like, I need to have independence on my technology and like figure things out around here, even though I have no desire to do any of that. But sometimes I'm like, I can do it. So I think I got early on in the podcast, like years ago, it was one of those things where I think Rob was like, we only have this amount of time to see this movie in order to talk about it for this thing. And it was super structured. And I think I screwed something up. Like, I think I messed up a schedule or whatever. And I was like, I will figure this out. I'm going to find a way to watch this movie free from home. And that was my plan. And then I Googled like, let's just pretend it was Swiss Army Man. I think I Googled like free Swiss Army Man streaming. It popped up, it popped up a website and I was like, oh, it's perfect. It's right there. I just have to hit download. And then as soon as I hit download, my Mac, thankfully we're at least on a Mac, my Mac popped up this thing and it was like, this is for sure going to kill your computer. Like, this is for sure a virus. So then I was like, oh shit. So I'm like trying to shut out, but now my computer won't let me shut down because the whole thing is frozen. So now I'm thinking like, do I need to go in and change all my passwords to my bank accounts? I'm in like hyperactive mode of trying to like figure out how my identity is stolen and whatever. So I called Rob, which was like the worst case scenario. And he's like, what happened? And I was like, well, I was trying to watch this movie for free. He's like, it didn't go well, is what I'll say. It didn't go well. And he's very much an advocate for paying for things. And so I haven't done it since. But again, it didn't go well. And I still occasionally get nude pictures that pop up on my computer. Ever since. So highly recommend paying, which again, on
you are still paying for this original sin.
Yeah, exactly. The one thing, my one deviant behavior, and I'm getting nudies ever since. But the thing that I always wonder is when Tim's like, oh, it just fell off the back of a truck. And I'm like, I know it didn't actually fall off a truck. I know.
Good. You put it together.
I put it together, but where is he going that he's not getting viruses like me? And that's what I kind of want to know. So if you guys can tell me later.
Yeah, not on air, perhaps.
Right.
I will say I have never I did put a finger down, but I've never pirated a current movie. Like I try to support whatever artists are doing things, or bar that, get it secondhand cheap. But a lot of the 80s slashers that I'm watching in my effort to watch every slasher movie from the 80s are not available in many places, and thus have to be acquired, falling off of a biplane that flew from the coast of Malta or whatever,
Okay.
So no, I'm still moral, but I get to put a finger down because I'm really cool.
No, I mean, I've never pirated a movie, but I've totally watched a bootleg copy for free on YouTube. So
oh no,
I only have a little bit of standing here.
Yeah, no, if it's on YouTube, that's YouTube, baby.
That was literally the only way that I could watch Inchon for raspberry picking, because the only way to see it is on the Mooney's TV network, which doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, no, see, that sometimes you just gotta.
Sometimes you gotta. I get it.
Yeah, and also YouTube is you're so distant from the act of whatever happened there that if a movie's on YouTube, I will watch it on YouTube. I don't give a shit.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, my next one is never have I ever been drunk while watching a movie.
Oh gosh.
Wait, really?
It's like all my fingers. I have so many fingers. I've never been sober for a movie. You've never been drunk in a movie?
This is a tiny bit of a cheat because I don't drink at all. I have been high while watching a movie. Do not recommend. I hated it. But I am very
also, I've done that too. I don't recommend it either.
No, I know a lot of people love to do it, but I am, with movies, I'm such a movie person. I'm like, I can't focus, and I need to be able to craft a Letterboxd review at least about this movie, and it was too stressful for me.
There are movies that require a certain minimum amount of alcohol in the bloodstream in order to tolerate the experience of watching them.
I can't agree with you more. My whole thing is, Carrie, don't fall asleep. Don't have enough before you go into the theater that you're going to fall asleep because you've paid for the movie. And I can tell you that's not always the case. There's been many movies. I've never seen Deadpool in its entirety because I've had enough before that I've never made it through. Or any of I watched the F9, Fast and Furious 9. No, there's no way I stayed awake during that. Any of those movies require a substantial amount of wine right before, so that I just sort of halfway just ease into a nice nap. That's my plan. I can't believe, Brennan, that's never happened to you, but
well, he said that he doesn't drink, so
yeah.
Yeah, that does help in the not being drunk while movies are playing. I mean, I just my sobriety is just the Ludovico technique from A Clockwork Orange. I just strap myself in for whatever terrible movie I'm about to watch, just stone cold sober and miserable. It's great.
There are certain movies starring one Mr. Nicolas Cage that are substantially improved by the consumption of alcohol before, during, and after.
Especially,
and I am thinking,
did you like Prisoners of the Ghostland? Is that what it's called with him?
That is what it's called.
I don't think I needed alcohol for that one.
Oh gosh, I did. I for sure did. As soon as his testicle fell off, I was like, send me another round in the beginning of that movie.
That's fair. I appreciate that. The two that I'm thinking of are the 2006 The Wicker Man, which is a wonderful viewing experience, especially with friends. But the original 1973 Wicker Man is my favorite movie of all time. And so I need a certain level of just like chemical relaxation before I can get myself into the mindset to tolerate the insult to the original one. And then Nicolas Cage was also in a movie called Deadfall that is, I think, one of the worst movies I've ever seen. But again, if you get yourself into the right, shall we say,
mindset. Yes.
Mindset, we'll put it that way, is again just a hilarious viewing experience. Because it's one of those movies where no one else in the room is operating anywhere close to the same wavelength as Nicolas Cage, who is giving this crappy movie every capillary in his bloodstream. And it is a sight to behold, but it requires a certain bare minimum level of chemical alteration to tolerate.
What era Cage is this one? I have not heard of Deadfall.
Early 90s, I think.
Oh, okay. So like right when he was kind of transitioning.
I want to say like 93, but don't quote me on that.
I'll look it up.
Okay.
So
you're right on the money. 93. Michael Bean's in it.
Oh, cool.
That's
Michael Caine is in it.
Oh, early 90s Michael Bean. Okay, I'm in.
Oh, Michael Bean or Michael Caine?
Michael Bean.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that Mr. Bean?
No, that's Rowan Atkinson.
Very close, though.
Michael Bean is the dude from Terminator who gets with Sarah Connor.
Oh, yes. This is
not my question. I said Michael Caine on accident, but yes, Michael Bean.
You knew who you meant, which is the best part. Mandy, have you ever, this is not my question, but have you ever smuggled your own libations into the theater for consumption?
I have smuggled soda into the theater, but okay. I don't, because movie theaters are dark. I don't like being inebriated in movie theaters at all because that tends to make me fall asleep.
I see.
And if I've paid for the experience, I want to be awake for the entire experience.
And that's where we differ. Yeah. For me, it's very different. One other small side note, and then we'll move on, Brennan, but sure. Most hilarious story. So in terms of being sober at movies, this has only happened once ever, but, Chris, our contributor, Chris Turngrove, had, his birthday at, the Music Box in Chicago, and they were watching Mad Max Fury Road. And like right beforehand, in Illinois, there's certain things that are illegal there. Whatever. So Rob's like, oh yeah, I'll have a hard candy right before we go into Mad Max Fury Road. He's like, oh, this little small hard candy. Sure, I love candy. And he pops this little tiny like yellow candy. I'm like, you don't do that. You really shouldn't do that. Within like 30 minutes, Rob was like, well, I feel a little funny. Like I was like, Rob, are you okay? And he was like, oh yeah, I'm of course, totally fine.
Sorry, and so, dying at your Rob impersonation.
This is actually what he sounds like in real life. You think you know what he sounds like, but what I'm doing is the actual impersonation.
No, it's so good. That's why I'm dying.
So we get into the theater. We've walked 20 minutes. Now we're like 30, 40 minutes out from his small hard candy. We get in there and he was just like, oh. He's like groaning and he's like, I think it's time to go, Care Bear. I think we gotta go. And I was like, the movie hasn't started. Like the movie started that we're here for. He's like, oh, I got it together. He starts like rubbing his legs like over and over and over again, like back and forth. And he's just like, yeah, I gotta go. And I was like, we're only 20 minutes in. Like the whole movie then I'm like holding his hand and squeezing his hand. And he's like taking my finger and sort of just like pressing to try and like massage my fingernail off. I was like, this is the only thing keeping him in his seat is that he's going to like rub the skin off of my finger until it's raw. And I was like, I will take it so that he doesn't embarrass me. And we have to leave this birthday party early because of his small hard candy. He was a train wreck. And I was like, after we left that, I was like, you better never do that again. That was so embarrassing. He's like, oh, I think I'm fine now. And I'm like, I don't think you are. So That's the only time,
So-
one and only. He'll never go back, I don't think.
Oh my
It was just
God,
a-
my rib cage hurts.
It was just a sugar rush from the candy, right?
Yes. Yes.
Wait, no,
that's
but
what it-
actually, like, I don't want to be elliptical at all because that doesn't feel like, I thought it was a weed thing, but that doesn't, reaction feels like an ecstasy thing. So I want to
I
know.
actually don't even know. I don't even have the answer to the question. He
Wait,
was
so
just like,
Where did it
he's-
come from? The sidewalk?
it was like a friend of Chris's, but we didn't know him. And we're
Oh.
like, ooh, we're in Illinois now. Like things are rowdy around here once you
So
get
you're
to
saying
Illinois.
Rob never learned his lesson when he was in elementary school about not taking candy from strangers?
No, he did not dare to keep himself off drugs, I guess. I don't even know. I don't know what he was thinking. I think he was swept up in the moment. And again, he couldn't handle it. He kept asking me too. He's like, are the lights like a little bit bright in here? And I was like, stop talking. Because he wasn't actually talking quietly. He was actually very loud. And I was like, you're going to embarrass me. Like, be very quiet. And he was like, I just think it's best if we go. And I was like, and this happened like every 15 minutes for the entirety of Mad Max Fury Road until I was just like, get me out of this theater. And then the funniest part was like, if we could have gotten it on camera after the movie was over, we were standing around in like a little circle after, like just kind of like doing the chilling. And he was like trying to clearly hang. Like he was like doing the like, yeah, that was really good. Like I really loved it. And then he's like, but we gotta go home. Like right now. So, poor guy. Again, I don't think he'll ever do that again. It was horrifying, but I don't know if it was worse for me or him. I'm still unsure on that. So go in with a clear mind is what we're saying here to movies is our recommendation.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was
Sorry.
glorious.
It
So
really was.
I guess we should bring Robin for the next round of Never Have I Ever.
Oh.
But Carrie, what's your third one?
Oh my gosh. So I think this is my last one. And I know Mandy said to keep it clean. I know she was like, I have students that might listen to this or people that might listen to this. But I did the cleanest version that I could of this, but this is where my mind went. So never have I ever made out in a theater.
Is that true?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm putting down a finger too.
Yeah, me too.
I've never, other than a peck. I would say there's a peck, and I will also say this is where it gets even sadder. I think Rob's the only person I've ever kissed in a theater, which is so sad. No, that's very sad. I can't think of anybody else that I have. Again, I told you about the handhold earlier, the unwanted handhold, and I think that was as far as it went before maybe just like a little peck with
Honestly,
Rob.
I think that really awkward movie theater dates are an even bigger rite of passage than like making out in a movie theater, though.
Oh,
think so?
totally.
How
Yeah.
so? Like, what do you mean by that? You mean just like what is this? Are we on a date kind of thing?
So on one of my 2 Phantom of the Opera dates, I remember that like these were not fantastic dates.
They were fantastic.
They were fantastic dates. But I remember that like during one of them, like we were dumb teenagers and we weren't really sure what people do on dates yet beyond like, obviously stuff that we weren't going to be doing yet. And so we both like decided to try to put our arm around the other at the same time and ended up like crashing elbows into each other.
That's precious. But no, I totally agree that that's much more of a rite of passage, the like spending an hour slowly deciding to hold someone's hand. But as far as making out, I have done that in a theater. So this was a second date with somebody.
Okay.
We had been on a first date, we'd done the movie, we had kissed after that movie, so we had established that was happening. But the second movie we went to was the Mikkel Haneke movie Amor, which sounds romantic, but it's
No,
about
because you said Mikkel Haneke.
I know. Well, I didn't know enough about. I vaguely knew what it was about, but he didn't, and so that was probably one where I
Oh,
was
you
giving
poor,
him too
sweet,
much
innocent
leeway.
things.
Yeah. So, but it's a movie about an elderly couple where the woman starts developing really severe dementia and or Alzheimer's or something, and it's a really
Gosh.
harrowing story about the end of a relationship.
Really romantic date, Brennan.
We made out a lot during a more.
What? Wait, you're saying during? You didn't even wait till after. You're like, hey, while this traumatizing situation is happening, let's take a break. Like that's the
we
how it's
were
played out.
we were that horny that we could
I see.
overcome
Aren't you worried
the
anyone's gonna see you? Like that's my whole thing. Like, what if people like see me making out with somebody? That would be embarrassing.
This is one of many reasons that you sit in the very back.
Oh,
Exactly.
see, Rob
The other
won't
reason-
go past G. He has to stay at like G forward for
Oh, geez.
visual. I know. Yeah.
The other reason to sit in the very back, and this is actually my more common reason for sitting in the very back, especially now that I am, a mature adult, is to just make fun of the movie the entire time.
Oh yeah. Okay,
Ah,
Mandy. So what's your third offering? If you
My
still got one.
third is kind of boring compared to that one, but I was thinking of like the shame movies from last weekend and was like, what's the movie that everybody really gives me a lot of crap for not having seen that I'm now just never going to see out of pure spite for everybody in the entire world? And so it is Never Have I Ever Seen American Pie.
Oh, I
no.
have seen American
I
Pie.
have also seen American Pie. It's very good. I think.
I will never see it.
That's totally fine.
Is
I
it
will
good
never
though?
see it
Is
on
it good?
sheer principle at this point.
Yes. No, I totally get that. I would argue that among the problematic sex comedies of its day, American Pie is the best of them. And also is the movie that has the most sense by the end that the vaginas that the boys are obsessed with are attached to actual human beings, and that's a thing that I like about American Pie. But it is not a movie that you need to ever see.
I
No,
kinda
especially since
liked
I feel
it.
like I'm probably too old for it at this point. That's just my suspicion.
Oh,
No, you
I think I
are.
missed the
yeah.
American
Yeah,
Pie
no,
sweet
you
spot.
are. Like I would never watch it again, ever. But at the time that I saw it, I remember being like, oh yeah. It's kind of in the same category as like you would never watch Varsity Blues now. Like you would never just pick that up to watch that. But I
I
did
might
like
actually
that.
watch that now.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. It's pretty good. No.
And I have a personal connection to it too, because it's largely shot in and around Long Beach, which is where I live. So I could be like, I know where that house is.
I get that. There are movies that I have seen, often very bad movies, that I have seen entirely because they were shot in Louisville, Kentucky.
Yeah, no, it's the magic of place.
Including The Insider, a very good movie, which was shot in part at my high school
Oh, that's awesome.
and features my favorite teacher from high school in a very small cameo.
Oh,
I would watch that.
He is the guy who serves Russell Crowe with a subpoena at the airport.
oh,
That's my favorite teacher, Mr. Bradford.
We're all watching now. We're all
Congrats to
watching.
him,
Nobody
yeah.
told us.
a watch party.
All
Well,
right, close us out, Brennan.
yeah, I guess I will see yours, Mandy, and raise one that might not make any waves with Carrie, but never have I ever seen a David Lynch movie. Any of
Oh,
them.
yep.
Yeah.
All the
Right.
fingers going down for that one.
Wait, so you haven't either, Mandy, seen a David Lynch movie?
Oh no,
she
I've seen so
has.
many David Lynch
Oh,
movies.
gosh. Okay, right. Hang on. I'd have to remember who he is. Hang
He
on a
did
second.
Eraserhead, The Elephant Man, Mulholland Drive,
Blue Velvet.
Blue Velvet, the
Ugh.
1984 Dune.
Ugh.
I love the 1984 Dune. It doesn't make any sense, but Kyle MacLachlan is also kind of like Paul Dano for me.
Oh, yeah, no, he's hot.
Wait,
Like
is this
he makes you feel Elizabeth Berkley and Showgirls feelings.
A little bit, yeah.
wait, are you saying never seen one that he directed?
Correct.
Yeah, I don't have any fingers for you. No. I feel like I know his name, and yet
He's the Twin Peaks guy.
Yeah,
who
he did
co-created
Twin Peaks.
no, I would have never watched that.
Okay. I have
No.
seen the first season of Twin Peaks, so I have a little bit of Lynch, but none of the movies.
Coyote, is that the one about the girls on the bar?
That's Coyote Ugly.
Nope, I haven't seen that then. No.
Very, very different.
No. Have I seen Mulholland Drive? No.
Mulholland Drive does not feel like a you movie.
I know sometimes the Patreon picks are those
Uh-huh.
though, and I was trying to remember, but I don't think so either. So
Someone's
I
gonna
mean,
make you watch a David Lynch movie now.
Whoops,
No.
sorry.
Oh yeah,
You're gonna hate him.
I
You
know.
are. I'm sorry.
Can I ask you a question though about Twin Peaks? What is it about that movie, or sorry, about that TV series that people love so much? Or why is there, like, Tim did a whole like retrospective on all the episodes. Like, what's so great about it that people want to read about it, watch it, whatever? What's the catch?
It is an extremely well put together series. Just like it is very high quality television. The acting is very good, the writing is very good, the plotting is very good up to a point, the construction is
Mhm.
very good. And also, if you honestly, I think of it a little bit as like David Lynch light. A lot of the time it is more accessible than most of David Lynch's movies, I would say. It's like, I think Tim described it in one of his retrospectives as like a dark send up of the soap opera. And I think that is an accurate description of it. It feels very soap opera-y in that, like, I actually didn't watch it until very recently when I was watching it while nursing a baby at 3 a.m, actually. So my infant son watched all of Twin Peaks with me last year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I gave him a good start to his life. But I was definitely in the mode of like, I have to know what happens next. And there were times when I actually did not go back to bed after I put the baby back down because I wanted to watch another episode of Twin Peaks. So it's an extremely compelling show, and it is also very, very weird.
Would you say cinephile? So, as you know, there's a unique perspective that Tim offers that has a unique perspective that likes his perspective. Would that perspective transfer over more broadly? I'm saying, would I like this? Or is it too niche for me to get into it, would you say?
I mean, like, I don't feel like I know your tastes as well as like Tim or Rob do, honestly, obviously, but I don't think you'd hate it.
Okay.
I think you might at least enjoy the experience of watching it.
The show was a reasonably, I mean, it's always kind of been a cult show, but it was a reasonably big thing in, 92 or whenever it came out. Like, Who Killed Laura Palmer was something that I had heard long before I'd ever seen a frame of Twin Peaks. Like, it has hit the culture sphere in enough of a way that it can't just be the cult film weirdos watching it.
Also, I think you would like the main character a lot because he is just such a good, wholesome, upstanding guy.
All right. Maybe I'll check this out. Maybe I'll check it out. And then, Brennan, I have a very, very important question for you.
Okay.
Who has somebody won this game? Is my question.
Well, we gotta count how many fingers are left. Mandy and I both
I
have
have
one
finger left.
What about, how many fingers do you have?
How many fingers did I start with?
5.
I had done 2 of the things. So I have 3 fingers left.
You have 3 fingers. So depending on your perspective, you won the game.
I think I've lost. No, honestly, I think I've lost. I think, again, I'm going to go out and get those nose piercings immediately following this episode, possibly a tattoo, and I'm going to come back cooler tomorrow. But
Great.
so you guys both ended up as a tie with one.
I look very much forward to it.
Yeah. You guys both have 1, right?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm going to step it up before we do this again, but thank you guys for playing.
Go make out in some movie theaters.
I know. I'm doing that like right now. I'm leaving. I'm going to go get to the back. I'm going to go to the back row.
Go to Morbius. No one's going to be there.
Yes. Is it bad? Have you seen it?
No, but I'm going to see it on Monday and I'm very excited.
I'm in a bad place with what's his face? What's his
Jared
name?
Leto?
Yes, exactly. I'm watching We Crashed right now on, is it Hulu or something like that?
I think or Apple TV, one of those.
Apple
It's
TV.
on
It's
one of
Apple TV.
those.
Now that you said that, it's Apple TV. I'm so mad at him because he's so yucky. Like, he's so yucky. Like, so manipulative. He's such a nice husband, but you're not really nice. Like, you're manipulating and trying to like get more and more and more. I'm not a big fan. So
He's apparently super hard to work with too,
Oh,
because
yeah.
he like does hardcore method stuff and is kind of a jerk about it.
Oh wait, and you mean Jared Leto in real life?
Jared Leto, yeah, in real life.
I'm sure, but even his character as playing this guy that started WeWork, he is just a monster. And so every night I'm going to bed and I'm like, my heart is racing. Like, I don't know why. And it's like, oh, it's because you're a monster and you're terrible to your family. So, yeah, I'll have to see about Morbius and work myself up to it. But
Brennan, I'm with you. I'm not going to see it in theaters because I just don't have time for that.
Mhm.
But I am very excited for it to come out on streaming. Much more excited than I have been about a superhero movie in a long time.
Yeah, I haven't seen anyone give it higher than a 1.5 stars, and I'm like, I gotta see this movie.
I gotta see this.
And I'm seeing it literally in a 8-seat theater. It has moved to the tiniest trash can, like postage stamp size screen. It's gonna be very great.
That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, that's gonna do it for us. It's been a much longer episode than we planned, as always happens. But yes, thank you so much to everyone who listens to the podcast. Always follow us on all the social media. Go out to our Facebook page, like it, out to our Twitter where we're tweeting all the time, Instagram where we're Instagramming all the time. You can find Tim's reviews, my reviews, Mike D'Angelo's reviews, Mandy's column about movies that won the Razzie Award for Worst Picture, all that stuff on alternativeending.com. Follow us on YouTube, subscribe to our podcast on iTunes or Google. Don't forget to join our Patreon. Next week, Tim and Rob will be back with Carrie to discuss top 5 Chicago movies, thanks to Patreon and contributor Chris Trengove, who now knows about the hijinks that happened at his birthday party. So you should talk about that.
He doesn't know. He for sure doesn't know.
Well,
So
now he does.
He's going to listen to
now
this.
he knows. I should never have told the story. Rob's going to be horrified. And
I completely disagree.
I hope, you know what? I hope he listens to this and then regrets not joining to cut me off. So that's where that's where we're at right now. But yeah, I'm excited for it. So top 5 Chicago movies next week.
Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Bye.
Pass the popcorn.